The episode saw the addition of new maids to the Jade Palace. Afterward, Maomao accompanied Yinghua to a gathering of ladies-in-waiting that an elderly maid hosted. The maids gathered in a cramped room and told horror stories. From the very start, Maomao was feeling skeptical about the meeting. As everyone continued telling their horror stories, Maomao started feeling dizzy. Soon, the female protagonist also noticed Shirsui's presence. After everyone's stories concluded, the hostess told a story that seemed too surreal. Fortunately, Maomao quickly acted as she realized that everyone was getting poisoned by the burning wood. Moreover, as Lady Hongyang hinted, the hostess could even be a ghost of a former maid who died during the previous emperor's reign. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10, titled A Ghost Story, commenced with a focus on the Jade Palace as Lady Gyokuyu introduced the newly added maids to Maomao. As the precious consort also needs help, and she needs to make a show of not being outdone by the other high consorts, specifically the most recent one, Lady Lulan. These maids were triplets from Yinghua's hometown, making them a safe addition to the palace when Lady Gyokuyu was pregnant. Within moments of meeting the three sisters, Maomao alienates herself from them entirely by mixing them up and forgetting which name belonged to which sister. The fact that they are practically identical in appearance doesn't make it much easier. After Haku corrects her, the trio agree to wear ribbons in their hair to coordinate with the colors in their names so she can more easily identify them. Despite Maomao's amazing memory, she couldn't differentiate between these triplets. Afterward, Maomao even showed the newly appointed maids her pathetic side by opting not to leave her storeroom. Lady Hongnian and Yinghua both believe Maomao should leave the shed and return to her bedroom in the Jade Pavilion, but she's made herself at home out there and has no intention of giving up her little piece of privacy. With 3 more servants now joining the staff, there will be less for Maomao to do in the Jade Pavilion, and more time for her to spend out in the shed, mixing medicines and organizing herbs, but Hongnian insists that she at least sleeps in her own bed. When they bring the matter to Lady Gyokuyu, the precious consort is her natural jovial self, laughing it off and telling Maomao she can stay wherever she likes. The shed is hers to do with as she pleases. Hongnian has no choice but to relent, but she still insists that Maomao sleep in her actual bed. However, she eventually came to a truce with the palace's ladies-in-waiting, and as a reward, Yinghua invited Maomao to a gathering that was to take place at night. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10 then shifted to nighttime as Yinghua and Maomao were on their way towards the gathering. The gathering took place in an old room inside the Jade Palace, and Maomao was very skeptical about it. Before they reach their destination, Yinghua gives Maomao a shroud to wear over her head, the mere thought of it making the apothecary feel like she's suffocating in the heat, but she soon forgets about it as they approach the building where the night's festivities are to be held. After reaching the gathering point, the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10 saw an elderly maid greet Maomao and Yinghua. The maid then escorted these two to a room where more ladies-in-waiting were sitting around some burning wood. Seated in a circle, each being given a candle, 12 women are each given the task of telling a chilling ghost story. At the end of the story, they blow out the candle and toss the stub of it into the fire pit with the logs. The hostess then sat down and commenced the gathering, where everyone was to tell horror stories as a source of entertainment. As the horror stories kept coming from the ladies-in-waiting, Maomao was getting dizzy, but as the place was cramped, the female protagonist didn't pay much attention to this issue. Eventually, Maomao gets greeted by Shirsui, who sits beside the female protagonist. Soon came the turn of Shirsui and Maomao as all the ladies-in-waiting told their horror stories to the best of their abilities. Out of everyone there, Shirsui's story is one of the most spine-tingling tales of them all. A monk who doesn't make it over the mountain before sundown must seek shelter from a nearby household. Not having any way to repay their kindness and generosity, he begins chanting the sutra for her, but amid his chanting he hears a strange sound. Realizing its voices, the young couple are making a frantic plan to sacrifice him, but when the entity comes in to eat him, the sutra protects him from its sight. When the house grows quiet again, he gets up and leaves. Couple is nowhere to be found, but outside the house there are insect shells on the ground everywhere. He continues on his way, chanting the sutra until dawn. As Shirsui blows out her candle, Maomao can't help but notice how serious the normally zany servant seems. almost like she's a different person entirely. Studying Shirsui's profile, she looks familiar to Maomao, though at the moment she can't figure out why. All throughout the evening, Maomao's inner dialogue turns regularly to noticing how tired, sluggish, and dizzy she feels. She keeps reasoning that it's because she's crammed into a small room on a hot night with so many people, but there's definitely something else at play. As the older woman who greeted them at the door begins to tell a story, things get very chilly. Set during the late emperor's reign, the rear palace was always growing to accommodate the numerous young girls who became the emperor's playthings. Many of them were procured by the great empress dowager, and once he had deflowered them, they would be locked away in the rear palace and forbidden from leaving. When one of the girls got pregnant, she petitioned the late emperor, but she was never allowed to leave. With her dying breath, she said, "It's your turn next." As the hostess story continued, the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10 saw Maomao getting dizzy to an uncomfortable point. So, she immediately jumped and rushed towards a nearby window, opened it and took a deep breath. Fortunately, she realized in the nick of time that the room was filling with toxic gas rising from the burning wood. Maomao orders Shirsui and Yinghua to help those who've passed out into the open air so they can breathe again. Carbon monoxide poisoning would have killed everyone in the room, had she not recognized what was happening. Maomao saved all the ladies in waiting, but the hostess disappeared into thin air before everyone's eyes. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10 then saw Maomao and Yinghua return to the Jade Palace. However, Lady Hongyang reported to them that the hostess of the party where Maomao and Yinghua went died a few years ago. This had Maomao speculating that what they encountered was the hostess ghost who died after becoming a slave of the previous emperor and returned to take more maids with her to the afterlife. That night, as Yinghua clings to Maomao out of fear in their shared bed, the last image we see is of Jinshi sitting alone in a dark room with the moonlight streaming through the windows. He's holding a cup, and there's a decanter of alcohol on the table. He rises, his expression grim, and as he plunks the cup down on the table, there is a sense of finality to the moment, like he's made a big decision, but even next week's preview doesn't provide much in the way of clues. What it does offer instead are some interesting glimpses as Jinshi and Maomao traveling together, and a possible romantic moment between the pair that many fans have been waiting for since he set eyes on her. So that was the complete breakdown of the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Episode 10. This episode had so many interesting moments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite part? Did you notice any hidden details or foreshadowing? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more deep dives like this, make sure to hit the like button, it really helps. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'll be back soon with more anime breakdowns, theories, and explanations, so stay tuned. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and keep enjoying anime.